A little bit of housekeeping here. First thing I like to do is a shout out to any newcomers. Anybody new to 1 Million Cups here this morning? No? Yeah? I guess so. Yeah? Okay. Well, welcome. Thank you. So it sounds like most of us know why we're here. That's great. So some housekeeping. I guess one of the things we like to do is get you to download and check in on our app. If you haven't gotten this app, it's pretty simple to do. Lets us keep track of who's here. It's out at the App Store. Thank you to our sponsors. They allow us to do what we're doing here today. Keep the lights on. We run on a pretty tight budget, but you still gotta buy the coffee and you still gotta pay the rent. So if you see any of these folks, thank them. Let them know that what they're doing here matters to you as well. So 1 Million Cups. We know why we're here. We're here to put an entrepreneur on stage, listen to their story, maybe gain a little from what they're doing, but also share a little of what we might know to help them be more successful, sharing contacts, sharing ideas, asking good questions, those kinds of things. Earlier this summer, a gentleman by the name of Ben McDougall came and visited Bismarck. He is a regional rep for the Kauffman Foundation that started 1 Million Cups. And it was fun to chat with him. He attended. And he had a lot of good things to say actually, but he had a few things that really kind of stuck out in my mind. One was our attendance, and he sees our attendance numbers, and that is something that he noted as being really, really great for a community our size. So a round of applause for yourselves for being here. Thank you. Another bit of feedback was on the venue. And I think we'd all admit this is a pretty cool place to meet every Wednesday morning. And then also he talked about our polish, and usually I do this at the end, but I want to give a shout out to the guys up in the tech booth up there. If you don't know, they not only do the mics and the lights and all that stuff, but they also live stream this on Facebook. So if you miss it, or if you want to go back and catch a key point that you missed, you can do that, or tell somebody that didn't make it, go watch it on Facebook and kind of see what's going on. So thank you guys. Appreciate all of your help. So together, all of this is hopefully changing the face of our startup community, over 1 million cups of coffee. So all your social media needs, hashtag 1MCND. Also, if you've got a question at the end, don't want to grab a mic and ask it in person. We got somebody on. So Lakin will ask your question for you in a man's voice, yes, that's right. So, all right. With that, I think if there are any community announcements, bring them on up, and don't be shy. We always like to hear what's going on in our community, so come on up.
Hey everybody, Kate from the Downtowners here. I think we have a slide, maybe we don't, but talking about street fair coming up. Oh, there it is, Jason. Next week, Friday and Saturday, September 13th and 14th. This is our 46th annual street fair. We have 180 vendors, food, craft, arts. We're a food-heavy show, which I'm okay with. We have like 50 food vendors, which is great. We also have a lot of nonprofit service clubs, booster teams and stuff that sell food or crafts, and it's a big fundraiser for them as well as for us, so at the Downtowner. So we appreciate you guys coming. It's downtownbismarck.com/streetfair. We're also doing a fun contest where you can try and crack the vault. For First Western, you can try and steal some money from them, so you just have to guess a code, and they'll be at a booth with a safe that you can try and crack. So tons of fun. We've got a kids area. We also have a beer garden coming back this year to Street Fair, which is going to be in the BNC Bank lot. So it's going to be a great time. Cheese curds, turkey legs. Come on out.
Hey everybody, I'm Mandy B. Anderson, formerly of Big Blue Couch Coaching, but we recently rebranded to Rama Team, a coaching and consulting company for everybody, not just women, but especially for entrepreneurs and business professionals. And we are actually having our open house during the street fair on Friday nights. So on September 13th from 4 to 6 p.m., stop by our studio on 4th Street, right between KFYR and Lot 2029. We're going to have some fun giveaways from Dakota Nuts and Candy, High Honey Salon, as well as several other local area shops and businesses. So stop by. We'd love to get to know you.
Hello. It's your weekly reminder that Disrupt Well is on September 17th. And I think most of you have heard me talk about this before, but some tickets are still available. If you would like to hear some amazing discussions and learn all kinds of things about new and disruptive technologies that are either here or right around the corner. Some of them are here and we don't know about them yet, and it kind of creeps you out when you go, but it's really excellent to learn about these things. And if you want to hear even more, I'm going to steal this from you. Next week, 1 Million Cups is going to be Mike Seminary coming and telling you about the origins of Disrupt Well and why he feels that it's so important for our community.
All right, going once. Okay, with that, let's get on with the show. We've got Matt Marino here this morning to talk about Homeland Hempcrete. I chatted with Matt a little bit ago, and I'm really excited to hear what he's got to say about this. So I think let's just give him a warm welcome and see what he's got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Set my water here. All right, well, first off, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's awesome to see this many people that want to hear about my business, or at the very least, drink free coffee while being near my business. So that wins, that counts. So I want to start out with just kind of talking about Hempcrete, what it is. First off, does anyone know what Hempcrete is? Tyler does, and my wife, because she helped build it, and he helped me polish this. So, all right, cool. Well, hopefully that means my information doesn't have to be too accurate here. All right, so I got the clicker here. So what we'll do, before we get into the slides, I kind of just want to talk about my why for this, why this is important to me, and how Homeland Hempcrete came to be. So essentially it comes down to this. I want to live a long and healthy life, and I want to do it in a place that's worth living, environment that's worth living in. And so my family and I will take proactive measures to ensure we have the best chances of meeting that long-term goal. And so one area we found a weakness in, or a shortcoming, was when we started to take a deeper look into traditional homes and the things that go into traditional homes. And I'll get into that a little bit more in the presentation. But essentially, there's a lot of not so good things, a lot of chemicals and things that go into making our traditional homes that aren't conducive for our health and don't necessarily align with meeting that long-term goal of living a long and healthy life. So that is kind of where the idea came from. We found Hempcrete as a solution for that, and the opportunity to share it with our community, that is where Homeland Hempcrete came into be, is being able to share it with like-minded individuals and people bigger than just ourselves. So that is the background. Okay, Hempcrete. So only 2 of you raised your hands, so it's good I have this slide in here. Hempcrete is essentially three simple ingredients, and this wall, I brought this here so you guys could kind of see what it looks like face-to-face in person, as well as you guys can come up and feel it and take a look at it afterwards if you want. But essentially, it's hemp hurd, which is the inner woody core part of the stalk from the hemp plant. When you process it, it looks like wood chips, essentially. So there's your hemp hurd, and then you have building lime, and then you have water. So you mix these all together, it becomes your Hempcrete mix, and then you cast it similar to Hempcrete. This picture right here is a good example here where you're casting it inside a wall. It becomes your exterior wall, your interior wall, and your insulation in between. And so I get a question a lot of the times of, is it a competitor with concrete, or is it similar? It's similar in that you cast it, like I just said, and the fact that it's got an aggregate, a binder, and a water. But the aggregate is your hemp hurd, and then your lime is your binder compared to like a Portland cement and your water. So besides those similarities, it's pretty different. Okay, so we'll get into the benefits of Hempcrete. I try to, I preach that Hempcrete is as good or better than a traditional home. And I think it's much better, and it comes with a lot of other benefits. But I'll go over some of the ones that people traditionally think about in a home. So one of the first ones, the biggest ones being its insulation value. Is it going to keep your house warm? So in this area, there's two things to consider. Most people think of just your R value or insulation, but there's also your thermal mass. So think of like cement or brick homes. These types of homes have high thermal mass because materials like concrete and brick absorb heat, but then they can dissipate, so it does not go through your home. So that's thermal mass. It's the density behind a material, and then your insulation value is the ability to keep that temperature in. And so it's hard to find material that has both of these qualities. And so like a brick house will traditionally have your brick and then insulation in between. Hempcrete is an all-in-one product because it's a very dense material, but also because of the hemp hurd. Why we use hemp hurd, many reasons, but one of the big ones is that it's extremely, it's got an airy nature, so it holds a lot of air in there, which gives it good insulation value. And then just another note on that, and I'll touch on it a little bit more later probably, but you get generally about an R2 per inch. And so this wall here is, I think it's 8 inches. Our home, so we did a studio just now, and we did a 9.5-inch wall. So we'll get a 19-ish R value. When we build our first home with it, we're going to aim for 12 to 18 inches to get a really good seal with that. Another note I didn't put on the slide, but something to think about with your R value is when you hear in a traditional home, you hear your R value, if they say your R value is this and it's in the wall, they're not taking into account the air gaps and thermal bridging that you're going to get in your home. So when you have a traditional home, you have your stud here, and in between is where you're going to fill your insulation, and then you have your walls, but wood is not a good insulator. So each time there's a stud in your house or anything like that, there's going to get thermal bridging where you're going to get cold spots, things like that. And so this monolithic design eliminates that to where you're not getting any air gaps or thermal bridging. Okay, moisture management. So this one is important as well. One thing about hempcrete is that it's kind of a breathable material, and so you're going to get an air exchange, but you're also getting a moisture exchange. So it more or less has a self-regulating property to it, to where when relative humidity is high, it will absorb more moisture. When it's low, it will output more moisture. So it has the ability to self-regulate, which also leads to your homes having a more consistent level of humidity. It does this while eliminating excess moisture, and so there is no real significant problems with molding or anything like that after the problem cures. So that's a picture of my son right there next to our wall in our studio. He's been tested positive for being allergic to mold, so he's highly sensitive to that, and he's also got asthma, so he's especially susceptible to carcinogens and dust, things like that in the environment. And so being able to provide a solution like this, he's a prime example of someone that would benefit from this. Okay, air quality. So this is kind of what I touched on a little bit in the initial slide, when I was kind of giving the why behind it. And so these are just some areas in the home that kind of raised initial concern. I'm not trying to do a scare tactic or anything here, but it's just something to be aware of, that pretty much every material in our homes, everything that makes up our walls, and even the things that we fill our homes with contain VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds, things like formaldehyde. People are familiar with that. But then also other carcinogens that just aren't good for our health, that lead to long-term health issues. And so being able to eliminate most of these things in your home with one simple product was appealing when we were looking for a solution to our housing problem here. Okay, environmental health, maybe it doesn't appeal to everyone, but you should always be thinking about your environment, and this is when I mentioned living in an environment that's worth living in. Hempcrete is carbon negative, and so one, it's a regenerative crop. Hemp grows 3 to 4 months is the growth cycle in that time, so it takes about 2.5 to 3 acres to build about a 1,500 square foot home. And in that time, in that amount of acreage, it's uptaking about 4 times more carbon than the same acreage of trees. And then when you create your hempcrete mix, you're mixing with lime, herd, and water, and the process of curing itself it's going through the carbonation process, which is essentially taking up carbon in order for the product to cure and set. So that whole process results in a carbon negative footprint. Okay, so this is the interesting part, and I forgot to mention this in the beginning because I forgot what I was going to start with. But what I thought would be exciting to share with you guys is this whole idea. So we've been working on this, my wife and I have been working on this for a bit here, but it's been under wraps, and kind of the business side of it has been we've been working on it on our own. We haven't shared it with anyone. So I thought this would be a fun opportunity to share it with this community here. I thought you guys would be receptive to it. And it's kind of like a soft launch, if you will, for the brand and what we're doing. So feedback, good or bad, would be great, especially on this part. But we'll get started. So Homeland Hempcrete, what we do. So we're kind of embracing what we call an assisted DIY business model here. And I'll get into what exactly that means and why it works for this. But essentially, what it is we're giving the opportunity, we want every person to have the opportunity to take advantage of something like this. You shouldn't have to have a certain amount of money to take advantage of a product like this or have to sacrifice on quality. You should be able to make it work if it's something that's truly important to you. And I feel like something like your health is something that should be available to everyone. So I'll get into what that means and what the involvement is, but essentially we offer customization with your build from design templates, offering preset design templates, things like that, building consulting, the planning stages within your build, as well as helping facilitate the on-site build when you're on-site. Part of what this entails and what we're asking for is essentially buy-in from the homeowners, the home builders. And so to get that, we're giving them the opportunity to participate in part of the building process and things like that. And then we also offer raw materials and equipment rentals, which I will get into here in a second. That's a SketchUp of our shed that we're almost done with. We're working on the roof right now, and then that's a picture of my storage unit just full of hemp right there. Okay, so why the assisted DIY model works. So first off, it's very easy to learn. This is a picture with my 6-year-old daughter here. I'm teaching her how to build her first block. Her favorite color is purple, so we did a purple pigment block. But it's very simple to learn. I could teach anyone to build with hempcrete within hours. It's kind of the way things are going right now. It's already working. So there's about 50 builders in the US right now that are building with hempcrete, and pretty much all of them utilize either volunteers, people that pay to be volunteers, or the homeowners themselves. And it's because it's so easy, and it also helps offset the costs. And then it's kind of the way we're already moving. So the US, for example, is the largest DIY market in the world, and that's only growing. There's 11,000 self-built homes per year in the Midwest alone, and that number continues to grow. And then also green building, which hempcrete definitely qualifies as green building, is set to be at 500 million in the next few years, and it's growing quite rapidly. So basically what we're saying here is that this is the way things are going. If you think about how popular YouTube's come, think about like what comes to mind, like IKEA, the people that maybe they're not the ultimate DIY person, but they want to take back some control and independence and still be able to save money but get a good product kind of deal. Those kind of models are growing tremendously right now, whether we see them right now or not. So these are kind of the customer options. They're not really options, it's more of a sliding scale, but it's trying to give you guys a picture of what I'm talking about here. So, and it's kind of interesting because this is kind of where we're starting from the top to the bottom. This is kind of where we're at to where we're trying to expand to grow with the market and be kind of proactive and move with the market as things adjust. So I'll just walk you through quick the kind of example. So basic DIY plan would be someone who I'd consider like myself, someone that's like, that idea sounds awesome, I don't want to pay full price for it, or I want to do it myself, I want to have some pride in my home, and so I want to build it myself. So I'm going to go to these people, use them as a resource, learn how to use the material, and then maybe collaborate with them to work on getting good quality materials, which are hard to source, and then equipment. Equipment's pretty expensive to where you might not want to buy your own equipment if you're only building one home. So that would be like the DIY plan, and that's kind of where the market is right now. There's a lot of people that are doing this, like that 11,000 people per year in the Midwest alone. Those are the kind of people that are embracing hempcrete right now, and they're just looking for guides and finding out how to use this material for their next project. So our goal is to move that a step forward into, this is kind of the middle of the road, but this is kind of our ideal market, and this is what we're talking about when we're trying to get it, make the product available to the masses per se, and give people that flexibility to control that price dial. So what this would look like is we have a preset kind of ideal build plan that's pre-approved by an architect and a structural engineer, things like that. These home builders, homeowners could partner with our subcontractors that are already familiar with hempcrete, and so they have those partnerships. We help assist with the planning, and then when we get to the actual build, we offer the opportunity for people to take part in the building of the home. So if you think about it, so what happens is when we have, so you're building your basic structure and your frame. When you get to the step of the actual hempcrete part of the building, it's really a pretty simple process, like I mentioned before, to where if you can get like 5 days and 5 to 7 people is kind of our goal. And we're saying if you can make this kind of like a family event, invite your friends and family and say, hey, come to our site and build like my family home and enjoy the experience with me. And we'll be there as guides on your build. To kind of walk you through the process and be the coach on site and walk people through the different jobs on site. And then from there, our next plan, put the "oh, you so fancy" plan, but essentially it's the highly customized, like a traditional person that's going to build their own home from scratch kind of deal. And so this would be working on their own designs and contractors, things like that, but they would pay us to essentially build it. And still, even with this plan, the one that's most customized, I still want the homeowners to be involved and invested in the product of hempcrete because it has a lot more significance than just building your home. And so these people, whether it be being on site when we start to do the hempcrete, maybe throwing a hand or two of hempcrete in, that'd be great, or partaking in one of our workshops kind of just to learn about the product. Ultimately, we want our homeowners, home builders to be involved and invested and be advocates for what they're choosing to make their homes out of. Okay, so pain points, what we're kind of seeing right now. So sourcing and limited infrastructure. So hemp has not been illegal in other countries. So for example, Europe has been building with hempcrete for decades right now, and they're kind of our go-to specialists and experts in the field. As far as in the US, it just became legal, federally legal 2018 in December. So it's extremely new to the US market. There's hardly any infrastructure. Sourcing up until a couple months ago, everyone in the US, the 50 builders, were sourcing their hurd and their lime from Europe and bringing it over on boats, which is not cost effective. There's one solid supplier right now of hemp hurd in the US, and they're backlogged 6 months, and their price is crazy. So I went to Canada to get my materials for now, and they're still having problems. This first picture here with the fire, so we planned on having our hemp hurd in April, and finally in July they said, we think we're ready, so I started to schedule a truck to go pick it up. And as I got that scheduled, they called and they said, hey, they sent me this picture and said, hey, I'm sorry, but our supplies caught on fire, so we're not going to be able to do your order again. So it took another month for them to get enough hemp hurd, and they finally got it, and we picked it up, and we're good. We have plenty of supplies now, but it was many months to find good suppliers, not just for hurd, but also for lime, because you want to use very specific lime for building. So locking down those connections has been a struggle. as well as equipment constraints. That is our mixer there. You can ask my wife how fun it is to build with that. That's about a $200 mixer, and it is extremely slow, like slower than mixing with your hands slow. So that won't work with building homes, but in order to hit that, so I pitched the 5 days, 5 to 7 people to build a 1,500 square foot house. The equipment needed for that is expensive, and so being able to get the wheels turning and get the momentum going for this idea needs to happen before I invest in equipment that big. But I'm not going to build a house with a mixer like that. Knowledge guard, this is pretty common for any industry, but especially the industry right now in the US because it's so new. People are holding on to every little bit of information, any kind of proprietary information to keep it as an advantage for themselves. And so there's not much sharing in ways of techniques, things like that right now, unless you're really in the networks right now, or if you have good contacts in like Europe, for example, which I'm working on right now. And then finally, permits and industry acceptance. So this is a big one, and this is kind of my next hurdle. So we have a good handful of permitted builds in the U.S., and so it's already been proven, never in the state here. And so that's what the purpose of our studio is right now, is to kind of get the right people involved and start to get them interested and see what's coming so that they can get familiar with it before we try to just go out and get permitting done. And so I've had a friend in Canada that just started to do the first build in Manitoba, and he spent just over 7 months alone just trying to do the permitting, which obviously put their build off quite a bit. So it's something that it's going to take time to get everyone up to speed and familiar with the product, but that's why we start now. Okay, so finally, I just wanted to throw this up here, guys. This is what I would consider a pretty beautiful home here, and it's really just to give you the idea. This is the first hempcrete home built in the U.S. It's in North Carolina, and what I just wanted to show you here is that it doesn't have to be as radically different as you might expect. As the saying goes, it's the inside that counts. It's really, it looks like a stucco home, and but it performs a lot differently, and it's a lot better for you. So I just want to leave you with that and kind of give you the opportunity to see the potential of this product here. So that is it.
All right, now's the fun part. We get to ask Matt some questions. We got Tyler on the mic over here, so just throw up a hand if you've got a question. I wanted to start a little bit with the permitting issues. Is it just because it's new and different, or are there real concerns in terms of fire or other things behind those delays?
Yeah, so as far as what's been happening so far with the builds that have already happened, it's primarily that it's new and different. Once there's been some really good teams, so in Colorado, for example, they're kind of leading the way in the way of all things hemp, and so they've gotten a lot of different key players in the industry and like regulators that have kind of gotten on board. So Europe as well has been doing it for decades, and so it's just something that they naturally make an option available for whenever they're building a new home. And so it's been proven many times over. It's just getting people up to speed with what's working.
Get over the inertia.
Yep.
Okay.
Got a question. She wanted me to ask in a man's voice, is what I heard. But question about the fire retardancy of hemp. We've heard that hemp, we saw it's very flammable in that storage unit that was aflame.
Yes.
But we've also heard that it's flame resistant once it's in its finished hempcrete form. So can you talk into that a little bit?
Yep. Yeah. So that's part of what we're going to be testing ourselves, just to because we have a very specific mix that we're using based on our different suppliers. So ours is going to be different than what people have in Europe, or even a builder in Colorado. If they're using different materials, they're going to have different results. But in general, we're seeing a lot of good results with they're doing the 2-hour fire test, and hemp passes. It has to pass a minimum test in order to be acceptable for a building material. And so it's because of the lime content. And you're basically, every piece of the hurd, which is flammable, is completely embedded inside of lime. So it's pretty fire retardant there, and we're working with a company in Canada that uses the same herd as us. They already have their fire testing results, and so I'm kind of piggybacking off that for now, just to show proof of concept. But once I get up and running here more, I'll do testing with my lime binder to prove that out.
Cool, thank you. Question in the front.
Hey, Matt, that was terrific. Great job.
Thank you.
Quick question on, so the exterior, you said what on the inside counts. I love that. So the exterior, it looks like a stucco building. How are people finishing out the inside? So for example, are they painting the surface? And then if so, how does that impact some of the properties, like the relative humidity properties that you were talking about?
Yep, very good question. So I'll start with the exterior here. So the most simple way to finish it would be just a lime plaster. And so because you use lime, herd, and water to make the mix, the reason we use something like lime instead of like Portland cement is because it's breathable and permeable. And so using a plaster like that maintains that breathability while still giving you some added water resistance. But you can still put, so if you go to Europe, you'll see homes that are brick or stone or have wood cladding on them, but they're still hempcrete. So you can finish it in those ways. The most economical and the most simplistic would be just to do a lime render, which is what we'll do on our studio. As far as the interior walls, we're probably going to leave our walls finished like that just because we think it looks really cool. But the same kind of idea applies. So you would do, so you could, if you like the texture of it, which it's not, I mean, I don't know if it needs to catch a lot of traction before people are like embracing hempcrete. Like people want it to look as if it's a traditional home. But like for example, I have the green in there. I just dyed it with a natural pigment. But also most people are just finishing it again with a fine grind lime plaster as well. And then it essentially looks like sheetrock, and then you can paint it whatever color you want. You still wouldn't want to, I mean, you could, you'll lose your breathability if you use like a traditional latex paint or anything. So we use what's called milk paint, and they use all natural ingredients and natural pigments and things like that. And so you still maintain your breathability with the wall, and it still handles moisture really well. So you can do that as well as any other finishes that you just can't do sheetrock or paint or anything like that. So.
Cool, thank you. Kate?
Just more curious about your background. Are you in the building trades, before this, and how, just a little bit more about you, and you're using words like R factor and blah 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 blah. So I assume that that's part of your journey here.
That's a bold assumption there. No, I'm not a builder by trade or anything like that. I would say that's kind of where that initial point came from, like the DIY. So I would consider myself a DIY type person, and so like when we want something new for our house or anything like that, or like renovations, we'll just do it because I don't want to pay anyone to do it, and like I can do it myself kind of deal. So I've always been like that, and so that's kind of where we've been involved in the hemp industry in general for a while, and finally Hempcrete just kind of clicked with a deeper purpose for us to where it was something we wanted to take on, and building was not a real, I was like, I could do that, so let's just do it. And so that's kind of where the business model comes into play, because we'll still subcontract. So like for our studio, we built everything by ourselves, the structure and everything like that. As far as a home, I wouldn't expect most homeowners to do that. And I'm probably not going to ever be the one to do the framing or anything like that, but I'll find subcontractors that are specialists in that field, and I'll focus on my core piece, which is understanding and working with Hempcrete. So my background isn't directly related, but I have a lot of different things kind of in my background that are kind of parallel or similar, so that's where we're at with that.
Lakin?
I have a question from Twitter, and I'm going to do my very best to give you a good interpretation of what I think the author would sound like. You already answered the first part, which is where do you source your raw materials from? But the second part is, would the herd normally be just waste?
Got it.
That was supposed to be full of wisdom and knowledge.
I felt it. It was good. Yes, that's a great question. I guess I didn't really throw it in there, but that's absolutely where we're at right now, and that's kind of a background project that we're working on right now to kind of help mitigate that. So the hurd is the inner woody core part of the stalk. So Europe, for example, will grow for primarily just for hurd because they have such a huge construction industry that uses the hurd, things like that. But really what we're growing the plants for, so North Dakota has a ton of hemp farmers, and we're primarily growing for grain right now, so the seed. But we can still use the fiber and the hurd off of those plants to build with and make, so like this shirt, for example, is made from the fiber, the part that covers the hurd. So things like that. But right now our farmers don't have a market for it, so they're harvesting the grain, but then leaving the stalk in the ground, essentially grinding it up, leaving it in the soil to return nutrients because there's no need for it right now. And so long-term goal would be to help assist with that, and ultimately we want to be able to use North Dakota hemp to build North Dakota homes, essentially, all the while being a byproduct, essentially, of what we're primarily after.
Question back here.
Yeah, question for you. You talked to, for any business, it's important for capital or access to capital. With the banking industry being pretty murky on hemp and marijuana, are you finding that you may have to go down other avenues to find access to capital, or are you going to go after the traditional banking?
Good question. So I kind of gave up on that probably a month or two ago, and I figured I'd cross that bridge later. So I got turned down by like 4 or 5 banks and that many credit cards as well for business accounts, even though it's a registered business and it's federally legal, everything like that. It's just very new, and they don't want to be first, is what my guess is. But yeah, it's been a challenge in that way, and I would assume, I mean, I'm not even going to pursue a loan through the traditional forms in that way, but right now it's self-funded, and then we'll work with private investors, things like that, to help when we're starting to scale with different equipment and manufacturing, things like that is kind of the plan going forward, and I think we'll stick with that even if traditional lending becomes available.
Two questions. I think you already answered one. If you just kind of start with wood frame construction and build on that.
Yep. Yeah. So you need. So that's one shortcoming, I guess, of hempcrete is that it's not load bearing. So it will hold its own weight. You could build a single-story home technically from that if you want anything higher, or if you're going to have a heavy roof. So, for example, we're doing our walls with hempcrete, and then also our roof is going to be hempcrete. So it's a fully encased envelope, and it's a little bit heavy. I mean, they say it's about 7 times lighter than concrete for the same mass. So it's lighter, but it's still got some weight to it, to where you want to have something that has some load-bearing capacity. And so that's primarily what the wood framing is for. And so you can use between 25 to 30% less timber to build the construction, because you need minimal. You really just need it for load-bearing weight. You don't need. Hempcrete has tremendous amount of racking strength, things like that. So you don't need it for those purposes. It's really just to add additional weight to the structure. Does that answer the first question?
Yeah, and you kind of answered the second one
Okay,
too.
cool.
The second one was, I get it on a wall. That seems pretty easy, just form it out and do it. But you also did say the roof. You can also do the ceilings and the actual roof's peak.
So we'll do, we're using it as the roof insulation, I guess, is how I should better say it. So it will, we'll fill the roof cavity with hempcrete, and then we're using steel roofing sheets over top as our exterior barrier, per se, but it will be exposed on the interior there. And then we have additional wood support in there to hold it up in the ceiling. So we have like wood fairing strips along the top of the roof that it will kind of mesh into as like a key for the hempcrete to hold on to. So it's primarily going to be insulation purpose for the roof.
Cool. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Dot, and I am with the Home Builders Association. So I
Awesome.
find this really interesting and exciting. and can appreciate one of the hurdles that you mentioned, and that is overcoming the challenges of permitting and approval. And I would just like to extend an invitation to you to visit with our building officials if you haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. We host them once a month, and it actually is going to be happening tomorrow morning over coffee. And so I'll catch you afterwards. But one thing that I would encourage you to do is take advantage of the resources around you, and that includes our association. And when it comes to subcontractors that can assist with the framing, builders who are willing to try out your techniques and perhaps make those homes viewable to the public, that's one area that we can really extend some support to you for. So thank you for the presentation.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry. Okay. That's exactly what I'm looking for is like kind of partnerships and looking for opportunities like that to be able to build awareness. And so that's what building the studio is kind of our showcase proof of concept to get initially get the word out like this and then visit with people like you to kind of further extend that information, but then giving the opportunity to come and experience for yourself because it's so new that you're not really going to fully understand it until you can kind of see it and feel it and experience it.
And thank you, Dot. That's for just kind of showing what happens here. That's great.
Yeah, that's
I think that could be a good opportunity. Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, Matt.
morning.
I can feel your DIY sense. I actually just put a bathroom in our basement. And I was wondering, would this product have made sense for that application where it's a traditional home, framed up the walls? Would it make sense to just have one room be hempcrete in your house, or would it just kind of be a lost cause?
Good question. So it's interesting you say bathroom because we're looking tossing around the idea. So we're building our next home, whenever we can make it out of North Dakota hemp, will be made out of hempcrete. And so I'm working on the details of what that will entail. Right now, it's just the perimeter exterior walls, interior walls intermittently. So one example would be bathrooms in Europe. They've been doing, one guy I follow has been testing a lot in bathrooms and showing how, because it's got that ability to manage its own moisture content, he did the whole bathroom hempcrete with lime over it, including the shower itself. And so essentially it's interesting when you watch it because like you have no condensation or anything like that in the walls, and it's kind of absorbing that and then releasing it over time, so you're not going to get the condensation buildup or anything like that in your bathrooms. So it's got the ability for that. And then so one thing I'm working on for our potential build is my home office. So it's really good at noise reduction, dampening, and so I'll probably plant my office in the middle of the house somewhere between like the living room and living space, and I plan on doing the walls out of that just so I have a kind of secluded, quiet space with that. One interesting problem to consider and why I would recommend limiting the interior walls for now is they have shown another limitation is that because of its density, depending on your modem router setup, you can have limited cell service through walls because of the density. So something to consider. I don't think it's a huge barrier to entry for me or anything like that, but yeah.
Cool. So then the other thing I was thinking about is if I ever have to, put wiring in there or install something, how easy is it to destroy that and then fill it back in or whatever you need to do with that wall?
Got it, like retrofit. So the plan, if you're building new construction, it would be easiest, obviously. So I put, you'd run your plumbing as you normally would with your within your studs, but then I have conduit right there. So all of the electrical has to be run through conduit, so you can continue, so you can access it later because it's cast in there. If you need to do like a retrofit or get in there, add anything later, you would just need to ideally have a good idea of where everything already is so you can sync up with that. And you can just take like, people use like a hacksaw or something like that and just cut out the channel that they need essentially and put in the conduit or whatever you're putting in the wall. And then you can patch pretty easily. So it'd be dependent on how you finish it because you'd probably be able to see the patchwork, but if you're doing lime over it, it'd be pretty quick where it'd be just, it might be faster than replacing like trying to fit in a sheetrock replacement or anything.
Cool. Sure.
You mentioned how your one photo showed like the whole house and all the things are contributing to a healthy environment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any desire into getting into consulting whole building wide, a healthy building environment? Because this is kind of one component. You can screw up a house pretty easily with finishes and carpet and furniture and not have a healthy environment, even if you are using a product like that. Do you want to focus only on hempcrete, or is there any desire to having kind of like a whole building-wide approach and consulting service?
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. So I think that the focus would primarily focus around the living space, the hempcrete building itself. But part of like what I said, where I want homeowners / home builders to be invested in this product and the kind of the journey of building a healthy home from hempcrete. And I feel like educating is a big piece of that and getting people familiar with it. And the idea is to naturally kind of lead to that conclusion. I won't necessarily say, oh, you can't use that, you can't use that. And even me, like we're in the process of building a new home or buying a new house right now that we're moving into that needs a lot of renovation. We're going to work some hempcrete into it to kind of retrofit, but it's really hard to not use things like vinyl flooring, like wood's expensive, carpets a necessity sometimes. Like you need to find a balance. There's better products out there than, I mean, if you're going to get carpet, there's obviously better ones than some are better than others, things like that. So sometimes taking the one that's the least worst, I guess, would be the best choice sometimes. But the idea is just to be aware of it and try to limit it, I guess. And so getting that across to homeowners would be kind of my overall message. But I haven't really thought about like doing a full-on consulting.
I think it could be something to look at, because there's a lot of value in that knowledge and being able to look past just the surface marketing of products and really see what's there. So it could be another kind of added service for you to provide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
Saw that looked like a Harbor Freight cement mixer there that I think was Sam's favorite.
Exactly, it was.
So along those lines, can you mix hempcrete in a cement mixer truck? Can you pump it with a concrete pumper? Those kinds of things when you start to scale these projects?
No, you cannot, is the short answer. Yeah, so I'm glad you asked, though. So yeah, so hempcrete is, I guess it depends on your mix as well to a degree, but hempcrete, so for example, that right there, so you create your two forms with your boards, you fill the void, and then you remove the forms. Most binders, like the line binders that you use, are made in such a way to where they're meant to cure super fast. So by the time I'm done filling that void, I can already remove the forms and they hold their shape. So I remove that within 10 minutes or so of casting it. And so it hardens really quick. And so even when I'm mixing by hand, I'll mix it, get the good consistency that I want, and then I'll stop mixing, because the more you mix, the more you start to get kind of a balled up material, and it's just not good. So you'll get a pretty messy, clumpy mix that is probably unusable if it's transported, pre-made kind of deal.
So it sounds like there's a lot of infrastructure opportunities here too, just in terms of equipment that might mix those things as it's entering the form.
Yep.
Or and then supply chain stuff as well. You know, if it sounds like one of your biggest challenges is going to be supply of this material, and so I think there's just a lot of opportunities there. Any interest in you getting involved in some of those supply chains, or are you going to just kind of wait for that to happen and be there to accept it?
Yes, opportunities is a great way to put it. There are plenty of opportunities, so if anyone's interested, let me know. But there's a lot we can do even in our kind of within our state that will help, like things that just like hemp herd, for example, isn't really economical to ship from out of country or even out of state, where it'd be great to have it in state. So certain things like that we're being proactive about to try to build out the supply chain. Ultimately, we want to be able to offer multiple different services and being able to, so we're starting with offering that kind of general knowledge, as well as the raw materials, as well as the building, things like that. We're already starting to kind of offer a couple different different aspects within the supply chain. And so the idea is to be a little proactive with ones that we're seeing the most struggles with, to help at least facilitate, if not get a little bit more involved in and help build those out.
So agriculturally, is hemp, does that work well in this climate? I know it's got a very short growing, growth period. Does it work well in this climate, and how does the return look for the farmer compared to traditional?
Yeah, so climate here is pretty solid. I mean, hemp can be grown in pretty much every state here right now. We're finding just about every state coming online with growing hemp, but we've done exceptionally well with yields here in North Dakota. Mostly we've been growing for grain, though, up until this point. And so grain is going to be large acreage size, thousands of acres at a time, and you can use traditional equipment. We're starting to dabble now in different aspects or different purposes of the hemp plant. So for instance, a CBD plant for more on the medical related side. It's totally different crop, and so you grow 5 acres of that and do everything by hand. It's completely different. So it's something that we are adjusting to as a state, but there's plenty of market to soak up what we can produce. It's just finding those right channels. But there's plenty of return. Our farmers are extremely interested from what I've seen. I try to go to a good handful of the Department of Ag meetings, and there's just a never-ending supply of people trying to get into those meetings and see what they can do to get into the industry and see how they can be involved. So.
Cool. I think with some of the commodity pricing woes that they're probably looking for some different opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So is this fair weather, like regular concrete, where you're only going to be pouring it when it's above should be pouring it when it's above 60 to cure, or how's it deal with weather and temperature?
Yeah, so kind of, I guess. It prefers more moderate temperatures for doing such thing, but one way around that, which is less than ideal, but it's how we do like stucco builds and stuff in the winter and things like that, is just doing a full wrap around the house, kind of creating that envelope, plastic envelope, and kind of heating that to keep the temperatures within a moderate range, and then you can still pour there. So that's your one way around it. But ideally, you would pour like this time of year kind of deal would be the goal, and try not to drop below freezing while it's curing. But it's possible. It just takes much. You're just going to extend the amount of cure time.
Matt, question I have, you mentioned 1,500 square foot design template is what you've been working with. I think that's a smart move. I think people are moving towards smaller homes. My next home, once my kids are gone, I'm going to be in like 1,200 square feet. It's going to be awesome. I'm wondering, at that eco-build tier, if that assisted DIY, so I'm helping with the pour, I have framers working doing the stuff that I can't do, what do you think you're looking at for cost of building a home with Hempcrete at that 1,200 to 1,500 square feet?
Yep, yeah, good question. I kind of breezed over that added part there to that slide there. So right now, and that's kind of where we're starting at, with kind of more of the DIY focus, and then gradually moving to the more customized as the market allows. So right now, Hempcrete's a little bit more expensive because of the sourcing, things like that. It's more labor intensive, so it's going to be more expensive. And so that's part of why this model kind of makes sense, so that people still have the opportunity, as this is a product, giving them the ability to put in some sweat equity to still have this type of product. And so if you're willing to take that route, like the assisted DIY route, it's going to be cheaper than a traditional home build, but that's also assuming you're going with more or less cookie cutter kind of preset designs like we have here. And that's kind of the goal, is to make it as much as a traditional home or cheaper. And so people have the ability to kind of control that price dial. But if you were to go like the customized route, I think I put right around 10% more. So they say it's a little bit more, so like a traditional brick home will be around 7% more so than what we'd consider like a traditional, maybe a vinyl siding house. And then it's going to be a little bit more on top of that. It uses about the same amount of labor, but you're also going to have guaranteed delays right now with permitting and design, things like that, unless you go with, that's why we offer a preset design kind of idea, so that you have a template that's not going to hold up builds or cause issues down the road.
Well, Matt, thank you for being here with us this morning. Really enjoyed it. We always like to ask the same final question, and I think Tyler's going to cue that up for us.
Yeah, Matt, so last question we ask every week is how can our 1 Million Cups community here in Bismarck and Mandan support Homeland Hempcrete moving forward?
Cool. So I guess I got maybe 3 answers here. The first one, though, is kind of a broader view of just what we know right now as fact might not be true tomorrow. We're always evolving, things are always changing. And so just to really be open-minded. And so, like, for example, if we wouldn't have ever questioned how traditional homes are built, we never would have stumbled upon this because we are always told that they're adequate, they're good, and they are fine for what we need, but we can do better. And so always looking for answers yourself, going out to be open-minded and try new things is kind of what we're trying to promote here. And then I guess secondly would be to come visit our studio, come see what it's all about, see what it feels like to actually be inside of the structure. So just really quick here, my wife and I were in Colorado just this last weekend, and we met up with the first permitted hempcrete build in Colorado, or in Denver. We got to hang out with him for like 6 hours in his hempcrete studio, and it was like 97, 98 degrees outside, and we hung out in his studio for like 6 hours with no air conditioning or anything, just the door open, and it was like, it felt like this inside, like it was so moderate, and so it's just a different feel that you get from it, a different experience. So if anyone's interested, contact me and come check out our studio. Am I able to get to another slide quick, or otherwise I can just talk through it? There it is. Okay, extra ideas. This is the other one. If you guys have any other ideas, anything that seems like it'd be cool to hempcrete, let me know, because that's what we're kind of in that stage right now. So ultimately, we want to build a house, but right now, so we built our studio. Our next project is to do a garage, so we're going to do that here in the next month or so. We're going to retrofit, like I said, and then we have a wall that got destroyed in the house we're moving into. We're going to do that out of hempcrete as well. This idea right here is a built-in fireplace. I want to try this in an existing home or maybe a new home, things like that. I have a rock band up there. We're testing out the soundproofness of our studio, so if anyone wants to rock out in our studio, let me know. Or if you just want to go all out and build one in your backyard, let me know too. That'd be cool. And then the Airbnb idea, if anyone also wants to go all out and partner with making Airbnbs, I'd be interested in that too, because really we need to get proof of concept out there. We don't necessarily have the land to do that yet. So if anyone wants to start with smaller projects, like little sheds, things like that, let me know.
Thanks, Matt. Let's give it up for Matt Marino.
Okay.
If you or somebody you know would like to be on this stage and present what they're up to, what they're doing, please have them go to 1 Million Cups. There's a apply to present page there. It's very, very simple. We'll look at it and get them up here on stage, help them out. We had a spoiler alert before, but next week is Disrupt Well. Mike Seminary is going to be up on this stage talking a little bit about creating that event and the 3rd annual that's coming up. Thanks for being here.